Okay, we are live now. Welcome, viewers. Welcome to Family Matters. Let me start by saying sorry for starting late. We are 5 minutes behind our scheduled time, but I promise you we're not going to put it at the back end of the service, the program. Amen. Now, Family Matters, like you know, is program designed by God to provide information, to give us relevant knowledge to live meaningfully here on the earth. Family Matter is informative, is interactive. By interactive, we mean you ask questions. It's a live program, so if you've got questions, please go ahead and ask those questions. We'll be able to answer your questions. Now, today, by the grace of God, I have our guest tonight, one of our brothers in church that has a powerful, interesting story to tell. Praise the Lord. Now, this series we are on is bridge builders. We believe here in Treasure that testimonies are bridges built by others for you to cross over. Our guest today is one of those persons that have built a bridge, yeah, in here in America, for you to cross over. Brother Oti, you're welcome. You're welcome to Family Matters.
Thank you very much. I
Mm.
am happy to be here today. I'm grateful to everyone watching the show and everyone listening to me. Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Welcome. How was the ride? How was your trip down here?
It was quite a good one. There was a bunch of traffic because of the weather, but we made it and we thank God.
Somebody told me you're driving something new now. We'll keep that for later.
Okay.
So, welcome to Family Matters. I believe you must have seen the program Family Matters, and
Absolutely.
today we are glad you are here with us on Family Matters. Viewers, this is going to be interesting. If you've got young ones, especially those that are close to 18, you want to begin to get them to listen to this. If you have kids that wants to go to college and you want to find ways, creative ways of paying college, you want to bring them in. It's going to be informative. This series is going to be very, very powerful and inspirational. We're going to have several guests on these bridge builders. Now, Brother Oti, who is Oti Michael? How do I meet you? Who are you?
So first of all, thank you for that question. That's a multi-layered question, so I'll try to just make it as simple as possible with the answer. So my name is Michael Odi. I'm Nigerian. I'm going to start off with like my background, just so you guys have a brief overview of who I am, how I got here, and what I do. So I'm Nigerian from Anambra State in Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria, raised in Nigeria. I kind of started off early to drift towards entrepreneurism and businesses in general. I was lucky enough to have skipped some grades in school. So at 19, I was done with college, and this is in Nigeria. I started my first business at 15, ran it for a while, got done with college. After my NYSC, I started my second business. That failed. Started my third business, which was a GPS company. And my third business actually was started out of a difficult situation that I went through. So while I was running these businesses fresh out of college, I got a job, a good job as a contract staff, working in Nigeria. I used to go offshore to the rigs. I was making some decent money for someone, my age, fresh out of college. So I bought my first nice car back then. It was a 2012 or I believe 2011 Toyota Camry. And a friend of mine got a similar version but a Honda. So we decided to go hang out and celebrate. And that night after the celebration on the way back, I stopped over to buy a snack in Nigeria we call shawarma. And he went on home, so I was supposed to meet him at his place. And on getting there, he had been robbed, and they stole his vehicle, his laptop, his cell phone. Tried to shoot him, but the gun had jammed. And I just came into this chaos, and I took him to the police station. Nothing could be done. We looked around for a bit until I realized that I needed to get myself out of the situation before I become a victim as well. So, when I got back, I started trying to figure out how exactly I'm going to improve this situation for other people who are in that same position. And while doing this, I was working. So I ended up buying a GPS tracker from a company in Indonesia. Brought them in. They taught me how to install the GPS tracker. I used my car as a test dummy, took my whole dashboard down, connected the GPS tracker. But it was a good one, first of its kind in 2012. Back then in Nigeria, you could turn on your car with your cell phone. You could call your car and listen to the conversations in your car. You could see where your car has been for the past 3 months, including the speed from point to point.
Wow.
Yeah. So the week after I got those guys who trained me on installing it to leave, I made all the money I spent on bringing them over and buying the equipment in 1 week from my colleagues at work.
Wow.
And by 2013, 2014, we're talking to investors all the way from South Africa, Rwanda, Ghana. Finally got some investors in Brooklyn, and I came to the U.S. in 2017, and basically that's my story and how I got to the United States.
Now, let's go back. You said you started your first business when?
When I was 14, turning 15.
What business was it?
It was a fish farm.
Was a fish farm?
Yeah.
Your parents allowed you to do it?
Yeah.
So how did you start? So how did it work? School? From what you said, it looks like you were a top A student. The business didn't take from it.
So at 15, I finished from high school at 15.
At 15, you were done with high school.
Yeah, and I got admission straight into the University of Nigeria, and I was actually 15 in my freshman year. So at 19, I was done with University of Nigeria. And so at that point when I was 15, I was trying to kind of, I had a bunch of monies that I had collected from, uncles and other rich relatives, because my parents wouldn't let us work, and there was really no jobs for people high school age in Port Harcourt, Nigeria at that point in time. So what I did was I saved up some money, not too much, and I went over to a place where they call Slaughter in Port Harcourt. And I bought a bunch of tanks, 1,000-liter tanks.
So how did you learn about fishery?
So I was watching a bunch of YouTube, and I was basically looking out for businesses that I could start with under 100 grand at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Friends, I'm telling you, this is just the beginning. So it's going to be very, very powerful series with Brother Oti. We just crashing the surface. But you know what we do here? Please, everybody take your phone, invite someone, let them know that Family Matters has begun. Amen. Let's do that now. Let's invite someone. Like I said, get your kids, get the entire family. Family Matter is a very family-friendly program. We don't go overboard here on Family Matter. If we have to do that, we let you know. When I mean that, if it's something we don't want the kids involved, we'll let you know. But today, you need to let everybody in. He started his business at age 14. At age 15, you were in college. So how were you doing college and doing business?
So at the point, we had some security men who were from the north. So like outside Fulani people, they were able to work for a less amount. So what I did was I spoke to the security man at my dad's house, and I told him there was a friend of his who was like a shoemaker or something, a cobbler if you guys aren't. Yeah. So I talked to him about getting his friend to work for 5 grand a month. And at that point, I was getting like 30 grand a month. So I had done the math to know how much it would cost me to pay him. So that was when I got my first staff.
Wow. So at age 15, you had already become an employer, and you finished college at 19. Wow. And you started your next business was started out of an experience you had, your friend had. So why did you leave that business? Why didn't you continue?
So while in college, I had a failed business, right?
Okay, what was the business in college?
So the failed
Now,
business.
what is this thing about business with you at that time? You know, most folks your age at that time, they were not thinking business. So, what was making you to go into the business world?
So I come from a place in Nigeria in the east, from Anambra State,
Yeah.
and I come from a lineage of people who have been hardworking entrepreneurs who have been trying to strive. So all the way back from my great grandparents, they all kind of did something new or try to bring on a new kind of business that would empower the people in the community. So I feel like I was just my mom was my mentor,
Okay.
and she was basically investing in real estate with all the money she had. So ultimately, we never got no fancy clothes or anything special because every dime went into some new investment, And I was just trying to learn from her steps at that
So
point.
she brought you in the business. She taught you the business, or she exposed that business to you at that age.
She advised me to delay my gratification,
Hmm.
and she told me that if I saved enough money, that she would complete it for me to buy my car in college.
So she was mentoring you.
Yeah, at that point.
Wow. So what would you advise parents to do with their kids?
Well,
At what time do you think parents should begin to talk to the kids about what they do?
probably around 12, 13. Reason being that there's just so many things and we have so many passions growing up, and it's kind of relevant that you kind of try your hand at some of these things so that you see the ones that you're actually good at, and that's going to give you the opportunity to make a better decision in terms of what you want to be in life. Once you get to that point that you're going to college, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? You can say, okay, well, maybe at so and so point I did this, and I tried this, or we did a lawn mowing business, and I see that this is not the kind of thing for me. So it's gonna just generally help to shape your kids if you kind of take a shot in investing in them before any other person in the world does. Be their first investor, even if it's $200. Tell them, hey, I'm putting $200 in Robinhood. Go do some research. Come back and buy some shares with the $200.
No, say that again. Say that again. Say what you just said again.
Okay,
Be
so
the first investor.
in your children,
Wow.
yes.
Guys, are you hearing that? Yeah. And how do you do that? You just said something very, very important.
Yeah, so I feel the easiest way for me or for anyone else would be just on your phone. There's a mobile app. Of course, they can't get on Robinhood until they're 18, but if you download the app and put in a little amount of money in the app, and just tell them, hey, I'm putting in this amount. I want you to be in charge of this 500, 200, 100, any amount you want to put, and tell them, hey, I want you to give me a monthly report at the end of the month or at the end of every 2 weeks. I want to see how much you've made or lost on this money. And at any point you lose up to 50%, stop and let's reconvene and talk about this. Kind of make them be in charge of something that they know is their dad's, so that if they lose it, they won't feel too shattered at that early stage. But then it's going to give them a better sense of understanding in terms of investing with their own money or being in an organization, because they've been in a position of leadership, so they can assume that role whenever it comes to them in
Now,
future.
is business for every? Now we're digressing from our question. Your who is OT? Is bringing us into this. Now, is business for everybody?
Not at all.
So how do you know business? Who business is for? If you have 5 kids, and how do you know? Do you have to introduce every one of them into it?
I feel that it's kind of something that comes as a natural calling to them. You kind of see their persona as they grow up. So a good way to kind of tell the kind of attitude your children have as well is what you give them, seeing how they use what you give them. So you would see the ones that quickly want to use it up. You see the ones that want to hold on to it for a while, and basically from that early stage, you can kind of guide them or push them towards what may be a good calling for them. But business is not for everyone because it's extremely difficult and frustrating.
So the business you did in college that failed, what business was that?
I had started a magazine called Sizzlers Magazine.
You started a magazine.
Yeah.
What led you into a magazine?
I got into magazine because from the little profit I was making from the fish farm then,
Yeah.
when I got into my third year, I was being motivated into going into some student politics. So I kind of started using up some of my money to do campaigns, do a manifesto, and I became the director of socials and sports at that stage, being the youngest ever of my age to hold that position.
Man, friends, guys, just this is good. This is very, very good stuff. If Brother Oti can do this, you can do it. You are not too young. You can begin to live your dreams. Now, part of the problem, I'm a parent. You know, you're one, you have a son, um, but I have teenage kids now. Sometimes we are very restrictive. You know, we don't want to allow our kids to venture out there for one reason or the other. How do you talk to parents that are like, well, let me say me, you
Okay,
know?
so my parents are also like that growing up. I feel that the safest space or the best advice for parents in terms of letting your children venture into a potentially risky world or space without your protection is to understand that while they're kind of growing up, you need to allow them to do dangerous things safely. You know,
Dangerous things safely.
safely. Like,
Explain.
for instance, they may want to do something like maybe let's say they're like 14 or something, and I had a friend of mine who wasn't letting her kids use a knife, and they were like 14, 15, and she was like, oh, I don't want them to cut their fingers, and these are ladies in the kitchen. And I'm thinking to myself, how are they ever going to learn to cook
Yeah.
if you're scared of them using a knife? So I feel that you need to kind of, while they're in the formative stage, you need to let them do something that could be otherwise dangerous, but under guided supervision, so that they can learn how to handle a situation without your presence.
No, but you see a situation where, please don't mind my interruption, a
Yeah.
situation where you think getting them to do something else may be a distraction from the big thing that we think you got to get a good schooling, a
Okay.
good education, but that wasn't a problem with you.
Yeah.
How did your parents allow you to do those things?
A lot of those things they did not allow.
A lot of those things they did not
Yeah.
allow. So how did you do it?
Either they did not know about it until I managed to succeed or fail,
Okay.
or I kind of
So the fish farm.
the fish farm they allowed for a while,
Okay.
right? The magazine they did not allow, but they were not in control of it because I was already a little bit. I had some revenue coming in, so I kind of channeled my revenue, so I didn't need their assistance at that point. And they just felt that it was a distraction from college, and they wanted me to focus back on my books,
Yes.
which I did. So um, in terms of getting your parents' cooperation, it's very important that you get your parents to cooperate with your dreams. A lot of parents are just protective, but they love you, and they just want you to come and reason with them. Like, if you
Yeah.
can reason effectively and communicate what you want with your dreams and your passions.
Now talk to them. Talk to those young folks that are listening. Talk to them. You say that again. Very important.
All right, so for the young folks who are listening right now, don't feel that you'll be young forever. First of all, you're only young for right now, but the communication skills that you're building now is gonna go a longer way with you than any of your siblings or your parents or anyone. And part of what's gonna better your future is being able to communicate effectively, starting with your parents. They're like the first leadership position that we're exposed to growing up. If your parents do not agree with you, you do not need to become volatile or begin to fight with them, because in every environment, cooperation brings you more than confrontation,
Yeah.
right? Be it on the streets, be it in a job, any
Cooperation
position,
brings you more than confrontation. Wow.
That's right. So if you find a way to
If you can speak a little bit louder, they said the volume is low. I don't know if it's mine or yours. The feedback is that the volume is low.
All right. So if you can find a way to talk to your parents in a way that you can cooperate with them and agree with them, and also get them to meet you in the middle with what you want, that's going to lead you a longer way, because cooperation goes a longer way than confrontation in every environment, as long as you're doing what is right.
Have you been confronted before?
Several times.
Can you give us an example of what confrontation is and how cooperation was better than confrontation?
Okay, so there was a time in while growing up when my business began to become kind of a problem to my parents, and the problem was I began to expand, and part of the expansion involved buying more of those tanks, filling them up with more water, and as you know, I was raising catfish. Part of raising catfish means that you have to get rid of the water every now and then. So the channels where I was getting the water to go out from, one, everywhere the water would touch would turn green because it was fish water, and it was going into like a suction pit. So it wasn't like going into the street or anything. It was just going into a dump, a sock away pit in our compound. So at some point when the pit is full, I still have like 5 more tanks to empty out. So it became a nuisance. You know, the gutters were always flooded, and you know they just wanted me to shut the business down, and you know. But I still had 4 more months of raising this fish and feeding them and doing all of that. So that was a point where I needed to kind of dialogue effectively with my parents and get them to meet me in the middle and give me time to wrap up with my current batch, and you know I shut the business down eventually.
So how do you communicate with your parents effectively at that age, knowing that most kids, they're not given the opportunity to express themselves easily before their parent?
How I communicated effectively at that age started off with a lot of okays. And when I say a lot of okays, you need to understand that as a child, even if you don't think you're even if you don't think you're getting justice, or even if you don't think you're right at the moment, while a superior who is your parent is addressing you in a situation, you need to first agree with them before you tell them, okay, this is my thought on it. You need to say, okay, I see your point. I see why you have this concern. And then begin to reinforce them with affirmations of your capabilities. Begin to tell them, oh, but remember that so and so time you let me drive the car and nothing happened, for example, or so and so time I went to Atlanta alone and I made it back safe. I've handled these situations. Remember
So
this.
they must have a track record
Yeah.
for reference.
And if they don't, they need to request the opportunity to create one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Powerful. Now, please, if you've got questions, please ask questions. That was meaty naughty. Now, the question I had for you is, how did your journey begin here in the United States?
Awesome. So my journey began here in the United States in 2017. I landed in Brooklyn.
Just 5 years now.
Yes, just
With
5
all
years.
you've accomplished, just 5 years.
Yeah, it was 5 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So my journey began in 2017. I landed in Brooklyn, New York City. And at the moment, the investors put me in a $2 million home there for a while.
The investors, who is the investor?
I had a man who wanted to buy the company.
Wanted to buy your company?
Yes, the tracking company. So I came here because they wanted to talk to me about purchasing the company from me.
Wow.
So eventually, after our transactions were concluded, I decided I was going to move down to Texas because it was a cheaper place to live. There were less taxes, and I heard the weather was relatively more conducive for me, liking the warm weather. So I moved down here, but I had no family, I had no friends, and I had nobody in Texas. But the reason I moved here was because I just heard a lot of stories of how it happened. So I moved down here for a while, stayed in an Airbnb for about a week, met someone in church who was familiar with the auction environment and buying cars and selling cars. So I bought a Honda Pilot from the person's wife, and I bought it for $1,500, I believe, then. And I basically lived partly in that car and at my job, so I would
You lived in the car.
yeah, for a while. I would basically shower at my job. So I used to kind of, I was in a place where they used to take care of like old folks, right? So I used to work in the kitchen then as the assistant chef.
That is important. You need to put a little emphasis on that. You just sold a thriving business. You were in charge of something,
Yep.
and it's like you're starting all over again. Now, I need you to talk to somebody that feels they are starting all over again.
All right.
You know,
So
how was it easy for you to make that shift in your mind from where you were coming from to come taking care of?
so at that point, it was not easy. It was not pleasant. It's kind of like every other transformation. It's not gonna be a pleasant process. The most a lot of people make fun of people and they say, "Oh, you're in the friend zone," but no one really understands that there is also a comfort zone. And a lot of people bask and thrive in their comfort zones because they're the kings and queens of wherever they're comfortable, but there's no growth in the comfort zone. So, at any point in time that you find yourself starting afresh, don't feel too bad because your foundations in whatever you're starting afresh will determine how far you would go in what it is you're starting. Let's say you're starting something and you keep thinking about something else that you were doing before that was more successful. That thought is going to pull the energy from what it is you're trying to do, right? So like there's a saying that the only disability in life is a bad attitude. If you don't have a bad attitude, everything that you do,
You need to say that one again. The only disability in life is a bad
attitude,
attitude.
yeah. Even if you're bedridden, even if you have one arm, one leg, you're not disabled until you have a bad attitude
About it.
and about life in general. So some people walk around with a bad attitude in life. They're like, oh man, I used to be a bank manager where in my country, I used to be this, I used to be that. And they're focused more on the previous glory, forgetting that, this is a life that you have to go down to come back higher up, So just don't focus too much on the start, but put in your best at the start.
Wow. So you were doing a job there, living from your car. So what next? What happened next?
So while doing
Now,
that,
why doing all this? You still had dreams.
I still had dreams.
So what were your dreams as at that time?
As at that time, my main dream was I wanted to own my own home.
Okay.
And I just felt that I needed to be wise about my moves so that I don't kind of lose everything I have and be like the people I hear about who come to a new country and become useless and, have no achievement at the end of the day. So I strongly held on to my dreams. I motivated myself in most of the situations because there was really no motivation around me. There was, I had a job, for example, before I came. I took leave from my job. I didn't resign. I took leave and came
What were
in.
you doing?
I was working in the oil field as a contract staff to Shell. And basically what we did then was we would go offshore and help retrieve oil tools that had been lost downhole because I have a bachelor's in geology from UNN. So I was majorly around the oil industry. So while I was doing that job, I was getting $100 a day at the rig, apart from my base salary.
$100 a day.
At the rig, every day, apart from my base salary. And this was back in 2011, 2012, 2013. So fast forward all the way to 2017, and now I'm like struggling to
Starting all over.
Yeah, so it was really devastating at that point.
So how were you motivating yourself? What kept you going? Because it's kind of tough. Is it your dreams or the fear of failure or the drive to succeed? What was keeping you going?
So at that point, the main thing that kind of kept me going was, one, I had faith. You have to have a belief system. I had faith in my maker and the dream that he had put in my heart. And two,
You need to say that again. Because a lot of folks, when they come in the state, they lose faith in their maker.
Yep. Once you lose faith in your maker, you're not gonna be able to do anything. It's
and
like
your maker, let's make it more precise. You're a believer, you're a Christian.
Yes, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus, his son. And you have to you have to have faith, right? So in my belief system as a Christian, you cannot please God without faith, first of all. And then second of all, if you do not have belief, you would not be able to achieve anything.
Now, was that very easy to do?
It was not. And, oftentimes you get calls from back home where they remind you, hey, you used to do this before. It's not too late to reconsider and, just come back now, But I just let everything go and I focused on what was ahead of me and I let go of everything behind me.
Great. So after the nursing home, or while you were there, how did you move from there to the next thing? Because we're heading somewhere. If we don't finish today, we'll probably will get to where we're going. Now, friends, this is just on the way to where we're going, and this is loaded. You never can tell the content of a book from its cover. You never can tell. You never can tell. That is why Bridge Builders is something you want to listen to. It's going to be inspirational. It's going to be it's going to encourage you. If you're going through it, going through a phase now, Bridge Builder is going to encourage you and give hope to you that if God can do it for this individual, He can do it. Don't give up. I've always said, don't give up. Don't give up. Something big is around the corner. So how did you move from the nursing home to the next thing?
All right. So while I was in the nursing home, started to, kind of start looking out for opportunities of what would be the next thing to do, what would be an achievement, what would I feel that is a goal that's taking me closer to my dreams. So a friend of mine told me, hey, why don't you go and look into certifications, look into courses you can do. At the moment, I wasn't looking into anything IT. I was looking into like heavy machinery. So I went and got certified as a this lift truck driver. I can drive forklift, lift truck, all those heavy machinery. And I used that as my next step up to start working in a warehouse as a heavy machinery operator.
So you left the nursing home and stepped up.
I stepped up from the nursing home straight up into forklift.
Now, let me ask you a question. Did your friends back in Nigeria, you lived in Nigeria,
Yes.
did they know you at one point you were working in the nursing home? Did you tell them?
No.
So when they asked you what you were doing, what did you say to them?
I just told them I was material handling and,
material handling.
Yeah.
You know what a friend of mine said that was working in the nursing home? Yeah. He said he was working with the doctors.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a pretty way of putting it.
Yeah.
So you stepped up to working in
warehouse. Yeah.
Now, was this a night job or a day job?
It was a job, night shift, kind of mid shift, where we come in the afternoon and go at like 11 p.m.
Okay.
So while I was there, I met my current wife, and so what happened was, my wife is so into fitness. She loves to do track. She was running up until 2 weeks till my son was born. She can run 5 miles a day, like every day. So we kind of started going out there, trying to have fun outside, have some outdoor fun. So one day she introduced me to ultimate frisbee, and we went out there and
What's ultimate frisbee? Some of us were old school, so we
okay. So it's a sport where you guys are in teams, and there's a disc. When you throw the disc, someone else will run and catch it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I've seen that. That's what it's called. Yeah.
So, I went out there. I was playing ultimate frisbee with her. We're having fun. It was a Christian community as well, and I met this French man named Pierre, and he just saw me. I was like, "Hey, where you from?" I told him, and he said, you really should look into IT. You're smart. You're this. You're that. And I was like, yeah, I've heard all this before. I'm just trying to work my way up so I can get back in the oil field. And he was like, forget the oil field. Let's go into IT. And he gave me a number. And he said, call this person. He's going to get you trained up. And that was how I stumbled into IT.
Wow. Have you ever done IT before?
No IT before.
So was it difficult to get in?
It was difficult because everything was brand new to me, and because I had a full-time job, I had to be committed to the full-time job and be fully committed to learning IT. So it was a difficult transition, but it took me about roughly under a year, and I was fully into IT, and I got my first job in IT.
So it took about a year to go through the process.
Yeah, for me, it took me about a year because I didn't want to just do like the regular process of where you know how people just go do a 6 week training and say, oh, I'm a scrum master or oh this. I didn't want to just do those one-offs, right? I wanted to start off by learning data analytics, then I went into data engineering, then I went into Amazon Web Server, then I went into Visual Studio. So basically for me, I was seeing it as something that I wanted to be competent before I hit the job
Now, was
market.
there somebody guiding you through this, or it was just you?
Someone guided me through the first 12 weeks.
12 weeks.
Yeah.
Someone telling you, hey, slow down, get it right before you
Yeah.
get in. Someone was
Yeah.
telling you that.
Yeah,
Now, it looks like you're good in researching things yourself.
absolutely.
Yeah, finding things yourself. So, how did you find out if this was a good thing for you to do?
Awesome. That's a very good question. So, um, at some point after I had met Pierre, I talked to a few of my friends and my
Now,
family.
Pierre is the guy that met him that said, hey, go look into IT.
Yeah. So after I met Pierre, it took me about under 2 months to start IT. So within that process, I started talking to family members and some of my close friends. I was like, hey, I'm trying to transition to IT. And they're like, hey, how many things are you gonna do? You've done fish, you've done magazine, you've done this.
They're quick to remind you.
They're quick to tell me, dude, you've done all these things. And literally at this point, you're a jack of all trades, you're not gonna achieve anything, And, I was kind of broken for a while. Well, not really broken, but, sad. It felt like my dreams were crushed by the people I loved. But, I went back and I
Now,
began
how does that feel when it looks like the people you think would encourage you become a discouragement? How do you handle that?
You just need to find that your strength comes from, your strength comes from within, and the strength within comes from the Lord. So that's where your belief system comes in, because whenever you
said that too quick, because that is good. You need to find that your strength is from within. And your strength from within comes from the Lord.
Yes.
Wow, powerful.
Because if you put your support system or your belief system in your spouse or your parents or your loved ones, as much as they will do the best to never fail you, but there will be that one time when the human nature in us would make us get disappointed in the people we hold dear. But one, we need to understand that just like ourselves, we're not perfect. The same way other people are not perfect. And sometimes they need to discourage you because it's God's plan for you to build your own strength.
Wow. So you took close to 12 months to get into the ID. How did you get your first job?
Okay, so I think I forgot. I wasn't fully done with the answer of the last one.
Yeah.
So when I was kind of depressed or sad at the first time, I started looking into why is it that they say someone is a jack of all trade. What is a jack of all trade?
So you started looking into
I started looking into the word because that word stuck with me for weeks. Yeah, it stuck with me for weeks.
Now, it's because there may be somebody that have tried several things, and they can feel you. Talk to that person with what you're saying.
Okay. So for everyone who is listening right now, who is, you've found yourself drifting from various businesses, various investments, jobs, you don't really know where you see yourself in the next 10 years in terms of your career. And maybe you see yourself in a position that people now refer to you as a jack of all trades. I want to first let you know that the whole saying, jack of all trades, is grossly misinterpreted, mostly by African parents. Now, what is a jack of all trades? Everyone will tell you, a jack of all trades is master of none. But that's not the saying.
That's not what that saying means.
That's not what the saying is. So let me tell everyone listening right now what it is, what I found out. The full saying is this: a jack of all trades is master of none, but better than he who is master of one.
That's what they're saying, the
Yeah.
original meaning of
That's
that
the
saying.
original meaning. So the original meaning was to throw emphasis on the benefit of the jack of all trades, as opposed to how we interpret it
So
as
at what point did we get it wrong?
we only say half of the full saying. Everything we know is a jack of all trades is master of none.
No.
But that's just kind of like the first half of the actual riddle, right? It's a jack of all trades is master of none, but better than he who is master of one.
So better than he who is master of one is what is missing.
Yes. And I'll give you an example. Let's say we're here in this environment, in this setup, and we had someone who was an integral part of setting up this studio, setting up the setup, but he only knew how to turn on the lights. So anytime he comes here, the lights are all on, but the speakers are not plugged in, the camera's not working, the TV's not on, nothing else but the lights. And then you have another person who comes and only knows how to handle the speakers. And then a third person comes who doesn't know the light very well, but he knows 50% of all those things. Who do you think is more beneficial to you?
To be the one that does most, yeah,
Exactly.
because if you have the light, the others would not.
And that one that does most is the jack of all trades.
So that's the jack of all
Yeah,
trade.
yeah, that is the real saying.
Wow. You got it now, Professor Michael Oti. So go ahead. So how did you get your first job?
So my first job is I was literally just updating my LinkedIn. By the time I started feeling more confident in myself and the skills that I had acquired over the past 12 months, just updated my LinkedIn, put some key points, built up my resume. And the first week after I had my LinkedIn on open to work, I got 2 job offers. 2 kind of recruiters reach out to me. I followed up with the 2 recruiters, ended up with 2 job offers. That's the only
The
time.
first week.
Yep.
Now, did you put your past experience as a geologist?
No.
You didn't put any of those.
Anything that's not connected to IT was irrelevant.
Was irrelevant.
Yeah, but the past experience that I had used was the 12-month period I had been with those people.
With Pair.
Yeah, as
So
as
now,
an
what were you
intern.
doing with Pair? I said, okay, you were an intern with
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
So not just training, he had you as an intern.
yeah. So because
So can you explain the difference between just being trained and being an intern?
yes, so when you are trained, you kind of one, you know the theoretical definitions of stuff in the IT environment. You can name all a database is this, a server is this, but even the project that you might have done was you watching someone else do it. The internship is the real part where you're gonna know the skill that you just acquired. The boot camp is just to kind of get you teed up to wet your beak, but until you do a hands-on experience, no matter the skill you acquire, no matter the certification, Scrum, anything it is, until you do a hands-on experience and handle like 1 or 2 projects, you're not really there yet.
So, so that was what Pair gave to you.
Yes.
Is that what is common out there?
No, it's not. So out there, what's common is, people are trying to shorten the process and make it seem like IT is super easy. It's not super easy. It's just an opportunity that you're sure that when you do acquire the skill, you will get placed. But it's not going to be an easy process to acquire the skill.
Friends, you need to get as many persons that you can to join this. This is one of the things we do here in Family Matters is to provide you information so that you make a well-informed decision. Now, I know people say 3 months crash program, 6 months crash program. Most of the programs out there, they don't have the internship that Pair gave to you.
Yes.
They don't have it, right?
Yeah.
And it's important.
Absolutely.
But we've seen people get job just doing the training.
So some people get lucky and get a job just doing the training, but you need to understand that people come from different backgrounds. Some people have a previous IT exposure. Some people studied computer management information systems and things like that in college here or wherever they came from. So everyone's level of experience is different. But even those people who just get a job fresh up after the boot camp or after the 12-week process will still ultimately need some help on the first couple months on the job, because they would need a support system that's gonna put them in a
Yeah.
when they get into tough situations at the job.
Okay, now when you talk of IT job, can you tell us the different IT jobs there out there, and if you can differentiate the idea of Scrum, idea of data
Analytics,
analytics, idea of cyber
security.
security? What's the difference?
Okay, so in the IT world right now, there's IT is like a general field. It's like when you say medical sciences, it involves a dentist, it involves a doctor, it involves a lot of people. So in the same way, that is how it is with IT. Currently, statistics are showing by I think the business, BLS, Business Labor Statistics, Bureau of Labor Statistics, that in the next 10 years, IT is going to grow by 25% and be like the leading employment sector in the United States.
Why is that?
The reason is because a lot of businesses and companies are moving their business processes to automated sectors, and AI is taking over
AI,
most of the things. So if you had a way where you could have your machines up and running without having a human being drive 40 minutes in to switch it on, and you had AI that would maintain all those processes, you don't need 5 people to come in and do it. And so with that being said, and with businesses taking data, so previously data wasn't a big thing in the past. Like people were just collecting data, but data was not being analyzed, it was not being processed. So with the new trend and moving into studying data more and using data to organize your business decisions, people are now employing more of the data analysts, data scientists, business analysts, and data engineers.
Business analyst, yeah.
Yes.
So business analyst, is that part of the IT also?
Yes.
Wow, I
Yep.
didn't know that.
Yes, it is. So in 2021, we started a business. It's called Space Bridge Analytics, and basically,
Okay, before we get there, so that's data.
Okay.
So what's Scrum?
Scrum. So ultimately, Scrum is also another bootcamp process or another field of learning where you kind of learn how the project flow goes, set up.
So it's more of projects.
Yeah, it's more of like project management related as
Okay.
opposed to a foundational skill.
Okay.
Yeah, so you only get placed mostly when you learn a foundational skill.
What about this
Cybersecurity
Yeah.
is also a skill that you can learn, but you need to understand that people have masters in cybersecurity who are unemployed. Right? So the whole aim of
Really?
moving in the whole aim of moving into IT is for you to get placed.
Yes.
Not really to acquire all the certifications and not use them. You need to get into a field where you can run with it and
Probably
eventually
grow
move to
into-
a different sector.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is
The
you
top
said
driving sector.
you said you started a company in 20.
21.
Yeah, I spoke to you about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we started.
So when you started working, how long were you working before you started the company?
So I was working from 2018 all the way till I just started my company in 2021.
2021.
Yes.
So you had worked 3 years.
Yes.
So it was not something you just did 1 year and you went into it. You knew what you were doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in 2021, when I started my company, my main goal of starting the company was I realized that there was a lot of human resource in terms of mental human resource that was available but was not being utilized simply because they were not being recognized, mainly because they felt that their previous bachelor's degrees or whatever education they had coming into the country as an immigrant was not being recognized or was not adequate. Or maybe you've been a US citizen and you have decided to settle for less. Maybe you never finished college, or even if you finished, you've been in a job you don't like, and you just generally want a job where you can spend more time with your family. Then IT is the way forward and the way for
So
you.
that was what made you to start your own company.
Exactly.
You want to say that again? Talk to somebody that probably is in the United States and his degree is not recognized.
Yes.
They've gone through college, probably masters or whatever, and they're saying, "Hey, do I have to go back to school again to do all of this?" So
All right. So you do not have to go back to school again. Matter of fact, school is overrated. I'm not saying you shouldn't get your college degree, because if you don't have a college degree, you may be rich, but you're always going to be looked at as that person who never went to school, right? You want to at least go through the basic four walls of a school, because it's not really about the educational part of what you learn, but the social and human interactions are going to mold you into being a better person and being able to handle being around
now
people.
explain that very well, so that these kids don't say you going to school is not important.
All right. So, everyone on here, if you haven't gone to college yet and you have the opportunity to go to college, maybe your parents are funding you, or you can get a loan or anything that can put you through college, go ahead and go to college, right? And the reason is that it's
But
not,
college don't make you
yes,
wealthy. It doesn't
it's
make
not
you rich. It's
college,
what
yeah,
you do with it.
yes.
Yes.
And the experiences you gather in college would
Very
help you
important,
to
yeah.
be more
Yeah.
able to adjust in the society and, as an adult, right? So I started my business, to answer your question, mainly to empower people who are willing to put their best foot forward in a career that is going to respect you for what you can do, and not the degree you have or what you studied in school.
Say that again. That line is so smooth. Putting your best foot
Forward
forward in
in
a
a
career
career
that will respect you for what
you
you
can
do,
do.
not what
You have as your title
as
or
your
your
title.
bachelor's or
They
your PhD.
recognize what
you can do.
your abilities, what you can do, and they
Exactly.
reward you based on what you can do.
Exactly.
Wow.
So in this field, we've been in business since last year. We've successfully placed about 11 people currently, and it's almost like one person a month. We haven't had that many batches of students, but it's proven to be an effective way of getting people in IT jobs. And also, it's proven to be a path for people who want to spend more time with their families, because a lot of people are willing to take a pay cut so that they don't have to be away from home, right? So this is not asking you for a pay cut. This is not asking you to settle for less. This is asking you not to reduce your price, but to increase the value that you have to offer. And the only way you can increase the value that you have to offer now is not only by going to school, but by acquiring a skill, a foundational skill that you can use in a workplace environment without having a degree.
Without having a degree.
Yes.
Now, your program, is it tailored after what Pear did for you?
Yes.
So how do you do that?
So my program is a 12-week bootcamp program, and it's kind of similar to the program that molded me into the position that I am in now, right? And the way the program works is the person who wants to acquire the skill has to be hungry. When I say hungry, I mean they need to be determined. They need to have the will when they come.
So you don't just take everybody.
Yeah, it's not. We don't. Some people come and they say, "Oh, we don't have money," or "Oh, it's too expensive." I'm not gonna bother to try and make it cheaper for them. And then some other people come and they say, "Oh, I really want to do this program. I'm really interested in bettering myself. I'm really trying to do this for my family." And I see the
You
desire.
say reason, yeah.
And then they say, "Oh, and I'm now
Can you-
faced with these challenges." I'm like, "Well, don't worry about all that. If you believe that you are hungry enough to do it, I believe I can get you placed." So getting the money from you before you start the program is not my priority. My priority is to impact the skill in you, so that you go out there and you help us as immigrants or black people or whatever it is that you were in the category before. You help us make a better representation of ourselves.
Let me throw a question. Our time is almost up. We'll wrap this. This will be our last question. It means you have to come back, because I've not touched my questions yet. We'll do this next week again. If this is a blessing to you, please, we need you to let us know this is good, is informative. I'm blessed. What was the question I was going to ask? Instead of going to work in a warehouse or going to work in a old people's home or somewhere, go flip burgers or go do this, it will be better to learn such a skill, because some persons, they really don't know what to do. They don't have the certification to do something that will give them something good. They don't have the education to get a better job. So what they're left with is, I've seen folks, doing something they don't like, for months, for years, just stuck in there. Why they can do this?
Yes.
Can you talk about that, because you've gone through it? You
Yeah.
worked in a old people's home. You worked in a you worked in he worked in a old people's home
While
He-
living in my car.
while living in your car,
True.
and you also worked you were forklift operator
Yeah.
for some time
Yeah.
before you got into this.
Yeah.
What This is better than that.
Absolutely. So for everyone who is in a position that they're looking, they're hungry, they have the will. My job, my business, what I offer is you come to me with your will, and I'll show you the way that I took and the way that I've been helping other people take to lead you to that path that you want to be on. And what is the requirement is only one, that you can read and write, and two, that you're committed and consistent to the
You
program.
can read and write.
Yes.
You don't have to have basic computer skill.
No, because you can be a mechanical engineer, but when you need an oil change, you need a mechanic,
Yeah.
right? So this skill that you're going to acquire is going to make you that mechanic that will be
So
needed.
you start people from scratch.
Yes.
You can start people from scratch.
Yes.
People that have not even touched the computer before.
At all. And
But what they need is a hunger
yes, and
to do it.
even if you've never done anything IT related, even if you've never done anything IT related, as long as you're willing, you're smart enough to operate a computer. If you're willing to learn to operate a computer, we can put you on a program to get you computer literate before the boot camp starts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one more question, please. I just need to get some of these things off my head. What was the question I was going to ask you again now? Oh, my goodness. Let it come back. My God. What was that question?
You're saying what I would say to someone who is flipping burgers?
Yeah. Keep talking on that. There was something else I wanted to ask you. Just keep talking
Okay,
about
someone, what I would say to someone.
Okay,
who
my
is-
question, so just so that I don't forget it.
Okay.
Someone that has a full-time job, how would your program work with this individual to get there? Mr. Michael is dropping knowledge bullets too fast. Can he come again, please? Pastor is asking, these nuggets are too fast. It's loaded.
It is.
Of course, we'll do this next Monday again.
Sounds good.
I'm your pastor, so I'm going to ask you to come back. You have to put your schedule together and come back next Monday. So you got my question.
Yes. So you said for someone who has a full-time job
Mm-hmm.
and is already making some decent income, what would be my suggestion to them?
Yeah.
Right. So having a full-time job is not
Not a decent income.
Okay.
Someone that has a full-time job,
Okay.
that needs that job to keep going, to keep things going, but still wants to venture into IT.
Okay. So our program is designed for people who already have jobs. It holds twice a week for 12 weeks, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on a weekday once, and on a weekend, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's once on Saturday. The time frame of the program is not going to impact any job you have, because almost everyone coming in already has a job. I mean, who doesn't have a job in this country? So what I would say to them is you need to ask yourself, what is the reason that you're looking for a transition? What is the main goal that you're aiming to achieve? Are you looking for more income? Are you looking for more peace? Because if you have to drive 2 hours a day to work, that job is costing you your life. You may like the pay, but it may cut 10 years from your future, right? So if you find yourself in a position where you have a full-time job and you want to transition, go ahead and make the transition, because you're not going to earn anything less than what you're making currently if you move to IT. And the reason is that when they make you an offer, before they make you an offer, they give you an offer letter, they're going to ask you, hey, we've liked the interview with you so far, and we're trying to kind of get a field gauge estimate, a ballpark estimate of, what is your current employment range, just so that we don't insult you with an offer. And that is the point where it comes back to you
To determine what you want.
to set the bar for yourself.
Self.
And that bar you set, you're never going below it ever in IT.
Yeah.
So if you come in and maybe you've never had a job, or maybe you are making 40K or 50K, and you feel that, man, if I tell them I'm making 50K, or if I tell them I'm making 80K, they'll think it's too much. That's fine. You can say, hey, you can be honest and humble and say I make 50K, 60K, and they will slap on another 5 or 10K on it and make you an offer. And then that same position you're in, someone else can come and say, I'm already making 85K at my last job, and he had no job. And they will slap on another 5 or 10K, and two of you start on the same first day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave those for next week. We have a lot to unravel. I believe in what he's doing. I've sent you how many students now?
About 4 or 5.
4 or 5 students, and a couple of them have been placed.
Yes.
Hey, good job, good job. Friends, this is Brother Oti. I've put a title on him, Professor Michael Oti. We'll have him back next week. Please, if you have questions, next week we're going to talk more on my questions. How can young people get into this? What are the different stages, to do? It's going to be more informative, but if you have questions next week, please just put them together. You can send them ahead to me or prepare them next week. We're going to go through them, but I have questions for him already written down, and we didn't even touch. I have not gone into my questions, so I don't know how many series we're going to do with him on this. But it's good to have Brother Oti. Brother Oti, in case you don't know, is a member of Treasured Year. Amen. He needs to be coming in person more. He does more online. This IT is making you do online, making you more comfortable sitting at home. We need you in person. These young folks, they need to be seeing you in real person and get inspired. If we love these bridge builders with Brother Oti, I want us to give a good job, 15 good job. Who's going to give us the first one? Okay, Pastor AC already gone. Good job. We got one. Pastor AC gave us a good job. 15. Come on, folks, let's go. We've got over 20-something persons watching tonight. Praise the Lord. Live that are active. So we've got one good job. Come on, let the good job come. Roll. Good job, Mr. Vice President. Two good job. Come on, if this is good and we want Brother Oti back, we have to eat 15 to have him back. Good job, Pastor Sammy. Thank you. 3. Good job, Pastor Ronke. 4. We've got 5 good jobs. 5 good job. Brume Iruwe Takwari gave a good job. 6, 7, 8. Pius gave a good job. Hallelujah. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need 7 more. Oh, Sister Glow gave a good 9. Reverend Sarah gave a good job. 10. We need 5 more. You see, we have over 21 active people. There are more people watching, but they are not active. Now we have at least 21 active people. We need 5 more good job. 5 more good job. And if you think this is something good, go ahead and share the video and like the video. 5 more good job. We need 5 more good job. Can we get 5 more good job? Rukewe gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We need 5 more good job. 5 more good jobs. Come on, we can get 5 good job. Let's not drag this one. 5 more good job. If you think this is very good, Maro, 5 good job. 21. We have 11. We need 4 more good job. If you're out there and you're watching, give us a good job. Pastor AC, you already gave us a good job. We can't count your own again. Praise the Lord. We need 2, 3 more good job. Or 4 more good job. 4 more good job. If you're watching, we have so many persons online for us to be dragging this good job. This is just on YouTube alone. We have over 25 current people watching with us. Just give us a good job if we want Brother Oti. Man, Brother Oti, I thought they were enjoying this. Okay, we've got 1 more good job. Praise the Lord. We need three. How many more good job we need? Two more. We need two more good job. Two more. Yeah, the good job. Wrongly, I've been waiting for your good job. Wrongly. We have 26, 16 good jobs, 17 good job. We have 17 good jobs in all. Brother Oti, they want you back. They want you back. They want you back. This is good. Now, Bridge Builder, I tell you, is going to encourage you. The lineup of guests we have is going to impact you. It's going to impact you. This is Family Matters. I'm privileged to be your host. Let's do it on Monday, 7 p.m. It's good to have you, Brother Oti.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's good to have you.
My
You're
pleasure.
blessed.
Thank you.
Bye now.